Happy Self-Care Friday. Y'all, I thought I wasn't going to make it. I had a last minute, session. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to end up going live early. But I made it. Never would have made it. How are y'all tonight? Happy Self-Care Friday. Y'all can tell Coach T is excited. Y'all know Fridays is my birthday. Like every Friday is my birthday. I celebrate Fridays, baby. Like it's my birthday because by the time we get to this day, baby, we made it. Okay? We made it. And so I wanted to hop on real fast because my schedule is all kind of like up and down, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come on. So I'm like, let me just get on here, share with the people, and go on back and get back into the stuff I got going on because it's been a lot happening. Y'all know we are in October. Hello, October. October is our harvest month. October is our blessing month. October is going to bring some new and brand new things. And I'm excited about it. So listen, let me say a quick prayer. Jesus, be a fence. In Jesus' name, amen. Listen, welcome. For some of you who may not know me, my name is Coach T. I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. I coach wives who are going through a challenging season or hardship in a marriage. Most of the wives I coach are in the middle of a separation, whether the husband is inside the home or the husband is outside the home and they live in a separate life. Many of the wives are dealing with husbands who are involved in adulterous relationship, abandonment is taking place, addiction, mental and emotional distress. And I help these wives to confront their grief, to confront their marital injury. And then I teach them how to transform into a healthier version of themselves so that they can trust God with their marriage and continue to live out their best life as they're trusting God with their marriage. And so welcome. Listen, I want to share this before I get into my actual topic. I've had a few wives who are in their victory season. That's why I said, y'all, October is our victory month. I've had a few wives who are in their victory season. And when I say victory season, that means that, they're starting to see the hands of God move. They have, they've had some great progress, in their marriage, on their marriage journey. They are starting to see some things happening. They are starting to see some of those very things that God has promised come to pass. And one of the things I want to just, say to this or add to that is if your husband have been away or outside of the home for a certain period of time, right? And all of a sudden now he's back home for whatever reason that, got him there. I always tell wives, usually when husbands, come back home, they don't just come back home because they're like, oh, I've accepted Jesus Christ as my personal savior and I'm ready to do the right thing and walk a straight line. No, a lot of times the husbands don't come down like that. Some of them do. But from my experience and some of the experiences I have had, most of the husbands that come home to their wives is because something has happened. They have run into a hardship themselves. They have come into a low place themselves. Something has happened that has allowed them to come home. Wife, you have to understand. And this is why Coach T always emphasized the importance of doing your work. You have to understand when you get to this place and when this is taking place, the test now begins with you. It's almost like how much of your work you have been doing before this man has got to, has gotten home. Now we're going to see how well you have been doing with your own personal work because you are going to be tested. Okay. I know a lot of times wives look at, oh, my husband's coming back home. My husband's home. We in this great place, we in this great space. And they're thinking like, everything is going to be, hooray, dewy. And you do have those moments, right? You do have those moments. But you have to also understand this is the ultimate test, wife, to test, to see how much of your own personal work you have been doing and how much healing has taken place. And usually within the first 30 to 90 days, a wife can pretty much tell if she's been doing her work, if it's something that she needs to still work on. You can pretty much tell within those first 30 to 90 days. That's going to determine how much of your work you have been doing and how much of your work you still need to do and still to be working on. And so I just want to caution wives, when you are walking into that season and that time is getting close or near, or you have come upon that, please understand and know that this is not a time for us to celebrate and, plan vacations and plan trips. If that happens, it happens, great. I always tell wives, you got to take this journey with a grain of salt or with a grain of sugar. With a grain of salt or with a grain of sugar. And what I mean by that is if these things happen, great. If it don't happen, cool. It's not a problem. You keep on walking this walk, all right? Usually when the husband comes home, a lot of times wives get comfortable, right? Wives fall backwards. They kind of stop praying. They kind of stop seeking out the Lord. They stop doing the things that they were doing prior to him coming home. And you have to understand and know, God, please be with me and cover me. This is what the enemy is looking for. This is what the enemy is banking off of you slipping, okay? The enemy is banking off of you not saying your prayers, not fasting, not keeping up with your regiments, not doing your studying, not studying scripture, not reading. The enemy is banking off of that, okay? He is banking off of your slip up, okay? He is looking for an opportunity in a time where he can come in and say, oop, I got her. Oop, she done got caught slipping. Oop, I got her. A lot of times when these husbands come back home and you guys get back to this space and place, you are at the most vulnerable place, that you can possibly be in. You are vulnerable in this place. Because now it's like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for us to get back to this place. I've been waiting for, for this victory. Oh my God. And now it's finally here. What am I going to do? But you got to make sure, wife, you got to make sure that you are holding yourself together, that you are keeping your composure, and that you are still at the feet of Jesus. Do not stop being at the feet of Jesus. Because if you do, I'm here to tell you today, if you make a decision to stop doing your work and to stop seeking God, and to thinking that you're going to make this man do everything that you've been dreaming of, thinking about, daydreaming about, if you think that's going to happen, you are in for a rude awakening. This is your test. This is going to show how much of your work you have been really doing and if you have been paying attention and actually doing the work. Because you are going to be tested at a much higher level. You are going to be tested at a higher rate. I'm here to tell you on today. So, on that note, let's get into the topic. Let's get into the topic, the side effects of the assignment. Listen, this is a part that a lot of coaches, a lot of providers, a lot of teachers, a lot of people do not talk about. The preachers, the teachers, the mentors, they don't talk about this part, right? Everybody want to give you the gushy, nice, gooey stuff. Oh, encourage me. Oh, feed me. Oh, make me feel good. Tell me what I want to hear. Yeah. Right? A lot of people give you all the good stuff. But y'all know Coach T has always been real with y'all. Okay? I am going to be that coach who is being very transparent. Going to be very straight up with you. This assignment is not easy. Point blank, period. Okay? This assignment is not easy. Okay? And this is one of the reasons why I try to share that as often as I show up. This is one of the reasons why I try to come on here and, share my own personal experience and just let you know, like, this ain't you got to know what you're doing. Okay. You got to really know what you're doing. This is not an easy assignment. And just because it's not an easy assignment, it does not excuse you from not doing it. All right. There is a lot that goes with this. And a lot of people don't use the word, oh, this is my calling. I've been called to this. But when God has chosen you for this type of assignment, it's not that you have been necessarily called for this as, I'm being called as a wife. You're being called as a servant. You're being called as a disciple. You've been called as the bride of Christ. And sometimes when you have been called to that place, you have to understand and know that it comes with some side effects. Okay? It comes with some side effects. All right? God picked you for this assignment. Now, y'all know Coach T, one of my favorite Bible scriptures that I like to share with y'all on a regular comes from out of 1 Corinthians chapter 7. So tonight, I want to share with you 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 17. And this time, I'm going to read y'all the Message version. I don't really like the Message version that much, but when I read it today, I was like, oh, that's the one. That's the one. All right. And I really feel like this is the one because so many get bothered by this assignment. So many are thinking like, is this normal? Is this something I'm supposed to be really doing? Is this something that God would really have me to do? Let me read you what 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 17 says in the Message version. All right. And it reads, and don't be wishing, these are not my words. This is the Message version. Okay. And don't be wishing you were someplace else or with someone else. Okay. Where you are right now is God's place for you. Live and obey and love and believe right there. God, not your marital status, not your marital status defines your life. Don't think I'm being harder on you than I am on others. I give this same counsel in all the churches. Now, this is Paul speaking. And he's basically saying, like, look, don't be wishing you were somewhere else. Don't be wishing, oh my God, I wish I had this life. Oh my God, I wish I wasn't going through this. Oh my gosh, if my marriage was only like this. Oh my God, if only I had this going on instead. Don't be wishing you were somewhere else. Okay? Where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. And this is one of the reasons why I always share with wives and tell them, don't think that your marital hardship, your challenges that came up, the burdens that you carry, and the pains and the aches that came with whatever you're dealing with in your marriage, don't think it's like it just happened. It was not. It didn't just happen. This was already preordained for you. God already knew, in the words of one of my cousins, God already knew the plan that he had for your life. God already knew the schedule that he had, your pain that he scheduled for you in order to get you to the place that he wants you to be on this journey. God already knew. So this is why when wives come to me, oh, my husband, and he did this, and he's the other woman, it's like, okay, all right. And like I said, I am not the one to dismiss your pain, dismiss your emotions and your feelings. I'm not the one to just be like, okay, well, whatever. I understand all that because we are human beings. We are spirit first, but we are here in a human body. We are here in the flesh. And so because of that, we can't just dismiss those feelings and those emotions and those things. But what I try to get wives to understand, and which is why I always reference 1 Corinthians 7:17, is your hardship, your challenges in your marriage, that was already part of the schedule for your life. God already knew before you said I do what it was going to take for him to get you to the place that he wants you to be. Because so many wives are, oh my God, will God really make me go through something like this? Will God really take me through this type of pain? Will God really, make me go through something like this? Ma'am, suffering is part of this journey, okay? Suffering is part of of growing you up, of maturing you, of developing you, of getting you to a healthy place. Now, am I on here saying that what your husband is doing is right? Absolutely not. Am I saying, oh, so you telling me, Coach T, in other words, my husband cheating on me, that's a good thing? No. Neither am I saying that a person or a mother who loses a child or a person who, is going through a illness, neither am I saying those things are right? What I'm saying is sometimes God will use certain things in your life that you probably think like, oh, I'm supposed to be dealing with this. But God like, no, I want you to deal. That's exactly what I want you to deal with. Because that's going to be the exact thing that's going to get you to the place. It's going to turn you around. It's going to make you be the person that I need you to be. Wife, your marital hardship, your marital injury, your marriage challenge is just an invite. I tell y'all that all the time. It was an invitation for God to say, let me in. No, let me all the way in. I know you grew up in church. I know you've been reading my word. I know you was a, your mother was a pastor, your father was a pastor. I know you know me. I want you to have a relationship with me. I want you just to know me. I want you to get to know me on another level. Wife, this assignment that God has handpicked you for, it was scheduled. It was already preordained. It was something that God knew way ahead of time before you even got to this place. He knew this is going to be her season of suffering. This is going to be her season of hardship. This is going to be her season of heartache. God knows. He already knew ahead of time. Google says, let me say what Google says. Give me just a minute. I'm texting, talking to clients in the mix of it. Google says, God is the one who has assigned these particular places in your life. He has assigned this to his people when they are called to faith. A lot of times, wives, you really have not even experienced true faith in God until you go through something hard and allow him to walk with you on that journey and allow him to walk you through it. Sometimes you really have not even tipped the iceberg of what faith really is and who God really is. You don't really get to know God like he really wants you to know him sometimes until you go through something hard. And it's in those moments and times when God is able to show you who he really is and how much he loves you and what it is that he wants to do for you. God intends to make use of each of us. One thing I always tell my wives, you was here called to this place for a purpose. Do not think your marital pain will go in vain. Do not think your marital pain will go to waste. It was for a purpose. It was already predestined. It was already preordained. It was already prescheduled for this very moment because God knew what it would take for you to get closer to him. For the most part, that means serving and obeying in the exact positions and relationships we were in when he called us. I tell y'all all the time, Coach T, it was my marriage. Now, I've shared with y'all before, Coach T was a bad girl. I was bad. I wasn't bad like that. I was not good in relationships. I didn't have good relationships because I was not with the foolery, okay? I didn't play them kind of games because I knew what I brought to the table, right? I knew when I show up, I knew my loyalty, I knew my faithfulness, I knew how genuine and authentic I was, I knew how real I was, I knew my honesty, I knew my worth. And so when I got tried in those areas, I didn't really know how to use words to articulate when someone hurt my feelings. And so I used other things. So I really wasn't good in those spaces. And that humbled me. I had some very, very humble beginnings. But babe, none of that stuff topped the stuff that I went through in my marriage. It was almost like God was like, I'm going to show you who the baddest is. I'm going to show you who is really running this thing. I'm going to show you who is really in charge here. Baby, the stuff that I went through in my marriage, it couldn't even, it don't even go nowhere near what the stuff I went through in those relationships, in those bad relationships. Oh no, that was nothing compared to the stuff that I went through in my marriage. That was the place that God got Coach T's attention. That was the place. It's like, okay, we're gonna throw you all the way down. I'm gonna bring all this stuff that you're dealing with, and we're gonna use it for the greater cause and for a greater good. We gonna change some things in you. Marriage for me, for Coach T, was the very thing that helped me be a better and healthier person. It was the very thing that got that's how God got my attention. Marriage humbled me. It taught me. It showed me that there's another way to go and do this thing called life, and to do it in a way that is pleasing to the Lord, right? I grew up in the church. I loved going to church. I loved, worshiping. That was my thing. I couldn't sing, but I was in a choir. They let me be in the choir. And baby, I would be up there singing and all that kind of stuff. I used to go and do speeches. And I just loved everything about church. But I was a firecracker, in the words of my father. I was a firecracker, right? And I was a firecracker because like I said, I always felt like I was always giving and doing more and being taken advantage of. And that part, so when people would come to me, like in high school, and come to me, even in my younger days, and ask questions, I'd be like, why are you asking me? I'm not good in relationships. Why are you asking me about your relationship or how to help you in your relationship? And I'm not even the person that you should be asking. I'm not even good in my own relationship, or I was not even in a relationship. Why are you asking me? God knew. God knew he had a plan. And so I share all that to say, wives, don't think that your marriage injury, that your marriage challenges, that your marriage, suffering that you're going through, which is something that just randomly just happened. This was scheduled. It was already on God's schedule for you. It was already part of your life. God already knew the day and time would come. And this is why I always share with wives, when it comes down to your husbands, you don't have to worry about when it's going to happen, what is going to happen. If God told you it's going to happen, it's going to happen. He has a specific timing when he grabs and gets your husband. He has a specific timing when he say, okay, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. We moving forward. We going forward. When God is good and ready to deal with your husband, he will. He will. Now, I want to share with you a few things. That, a few side effects of the assignment, right? So when I talk about the assignment for a wife, I'm talking about a wife who has basically said, yes, Lord, I'm going to make a decision to stay in this marriage, even though I have biblical reasons to leave, right? The assignment was her accepting and saying yes. She accepted the invitation. She accepted the invite that God gave her. God, I know I have biblical reasons to leave this marriage, but because you have asked me to stay, or because you have told me this thing, or you have told me to be still, you have told me that, you was going to restore, or you have told me that, my husband will, receive salvation, or you told me that you was going to fix my marriage. Because of these things, I have made a decision to stay, right? I have made a decision to stay. When that happens, wife, you have to know, like I shared with you guys on yesterday, there's levels. There's levels, y'all. I'm still texting my client. Give me just a moment. I'm texting. I got a client. I got early in the morning, a last minute client. Give me just a moment. Give me just a moment. Y'all, I've been praying all day. I've been praying all day for the Lord to, really order my steps and help me with, my weekends now, especially now where, a lot of things have changed with my weekends now that my oldest son is a senior and he, work. My husband's, work schedule kind of changed a little bit. And so my domestic work has increased. And for some reason, my husband trying to have me in the kitchen more. I don't know what that's about. We'll talk about that later. So I be really, really trying to ask God to like really order my steps and guide me in the direction that he would have me to go, when it comes down to that, right? So, like I said, once you have said yes to the assignment, you have said yes to God about, staying in this marriage, that you have biblical reasons, to leave. You have to first understand and know that there is levels to this thing, right? There's levels to this thing. Usually sometimes, let's just think about school. When you're doing, something and the teacher may, go over something and you may have the first test or, the second test, like, oh, that's not so bad. Oh, that wasn't so hard. But each time, as you're learning new things and as God is taking you through the process of different things, the test gets harder, right? The tests get harder. Just like I said earlier, when wives who are dealing with husbands who may have been out of the home for, a period of time, and now all of a sudden he's coming back, that's a different test. You're no longer in the same place that you were in when you first started this journey out. And so as you are saying yes, the more you say yes to God when he comes to you with certain things, that takes you up to another level. But you have to understand each level that you go up and each level that happens, you have to also understand that this test is going to get harder, right? This test is going to get harder. And so I want to just share with you some of the side effects. And listen, even me now as a coach, as a wife coach, man, I'm telling you, the stuff that God be asking me to do sometimes now, it's like, it's certain things that God can actually do. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not a problem. I've went through that. I've experienced that with him before. I know those things. I can kind of like speed through some of that stuff. But then there are other things you be like, ooh, ooh, God, please don't let me do that, right? And so what is some of the side effects of the assignment, right? What are some of these things that these wives are suffering with or through when they're going through, when they're on assignment? One of the things is suffering, right? One of the things is suffering. You will suffer on this journey. And a lot of wives feel like, and I think her name is Anita Phillips. She talked about, everybody's trying to get away from suffering. Everybody want to heal, but it's like, that's not how this go. If you're getting away from suffering, you don't have no reason to depend on God. Now, do you want to be in a place and state of suffering all your life? Absolutely not. Nobody does. But you have to know that suffering is part of this journey. Suffering is part of it, okay? So a lot of wives deal with the side effects of suffering. Persecution. Baby, I thought persecution was something of my past. Persecution, I feel like God was like, no, we were just getting you started. I was just giving you a little tease of what it was going to be. This thing called persecution is off the map. You will be persecuted for doing this type of assignment. And one of the things that I've had to learn, over time is persecution comes with a lot of times from people that's the most closest to you. I was just mind blown about that, right? Anxiety, stress, mood, moodiness. People think that stuff just go away. Oh, it's your cycle time. Oh, you're just having a bad day. Baby, when I tell you my anxiety be on 1,000, but one of the things that I've had to learn was, and it's one of the things that I teach my wives, is how to parent myself. How it's like you have these side effects, but you have to also know how to deal with the side effects. Like what do you do? It's almost like, with medications is always some type of side effects, right? So you got to take this, but you got to take this to, so you won't deal with this. You got to take this so you won't deal with this. See, the great thing about this type of assignment, you don't got to do all that, right? You're going to have side effects. You're going to deal with stuff, but all you have to learn is how to master that one thing to help you get over it. So one of the ways that I deal with my anxiety, which is something that is very, very real, is I know how to encourage myself in the Lord. Like David said, I know how to parent myself. I know how to talk myself down, right? So anxiety, stress, mood changes, that is a huge part of the side effects. Fear, doubt. I get so tired of people saying, oh, well, you a Christian, so because you're a Christian, you're not supposed to fear, you're not supposed to be dealing with that kind of stuff. And it's like, go sit down. Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean that I'm not a human being. It doesn't mean that I don't have emotions. It doesn't mean that I feel. Now, what happens is you stay in that place, right? But you deal with fear. You deal with doubt. Those types of things do come up, especially when you are in the middle of something hard. You're dealing with something hard. You're going through something with your children or with your husband or with your family. You deal with these types of things. And so this is part of the side effects of the assignment. Backlash, attacks, right? Increased spiritual warfare. Baby. Sometimes before I come on here, I be like, oh Lord, please cover me. A lot of times people think, oh, well, Coach T, she don't pray when she come on here. Baby, Coach T prays before she come on here. Because it seemed like, and the end is one of the enemy's tactics, right? One of the enemy's tactics is to try to keep me in a place where I don't share. So if I don't share, I don't get the message out. But that's one of his ways for him to stop me from doing what God has told me to do, right? A lot of times the anxiety and sometimes the stress that comes with this type of assignment is the backlash, the increased spiritual warfare. And I think I shared with you guys a couple of videos ago, like, this is why I have to do certain things for myself in order for me to be able to navigate through those things, right? Because that kind of stuff comes along with it. One of the things I hear a lot of times with my wives who are going through, going through this journey as well, is like when they start, pivoting and, doing things God's way, changing some of their behaviors, changing some of their ways, start praying a certain way, they start to encounter a lot of backlash, a lot of spiritual warfare comes along with that. Trauma, lack of trust. Baby, that stuff is real. Sometimes the trauma that a wife has to accept, in a sense, that my husband is not here with me. My husband is living with another woman. My husband is not here with me. My husband has turned his heart for me. One of the things that I think was hard, was really, really hard for Coach T, was me knowing that my husband was connected and joined to another woman. Like that was hard, right? I would see him, on coming home, and I would see him and I would see his face, and you can tell that whatever he was involved in, whatever he was doing, you knew he was way deep in this thing. It didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter how I showed up. It didn't matter what I did. None of those things matter, because this person had him so wide open. He was in another space. And when I say when your husband get like that, he's gone. The only person I have a client right now, she says, it's nothing that I can do. I don't know what it is that I can do to get my husband to see me or get my husband to, to turn back around. And it's like, baby, when he's like that, there is nothing that you can do. You have to labor for a season in prayer. You have to labor for a season and labor in the things of the Lord until God turns that. What happens then for the wife is strengthening you. It's building you up. It's increasing that endurance in you, that stamina in you. It's helping you to be a better person. It's helping it's changing your character. A lot of things take place, right, with wives when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. But the trauma of it, like I said, I'm a visual person. So one of the things I always tell my wife clients is, don't go through that man's phone. Don't go through his phone, because you don't want to see nothing. You see something, now you have that vision, that picture in your head, and now you seeing that. I remember times when the Lord would tell me to be with my husband, and my husband, he would have his phone, and I wouldn't be trying to look at his phone, but sometimes the phone will, it would light up, right? It's lighting up and you can see the person, her picture or whatever. And I'm just like, baby, that's traumatizing, right? That's traumatizing. So a lot of times you are dealing with, the trauma. That's part of the side effects, right? Lack of trust. You 1 minute you feel like you heard God, you feel strong in this area. Okay, but then all of a sudden you don't feel that anymore. Lack of trust in people. Oh my God. Oh my God. When I say like this was a punch in the stomach for me, it's in the beginning, I had a lot of support from my family. I had a lot of support from my family. When my husband was outside of the home, in the beginning stages of I had a whole lot of support from family and friends. But baby, when he came back home, and this was before, he kind of like relapsed and went backwards. When he came back home, it was almost like, oh, I guess he really did. Oh, I guess God really do it. And it was almost like, wait, but isn't that what we was praying for? Wasn't that what we was believing for? It was almost like now that it actually happened, people were in shock that God really did do what he said he was going to do. Oh, that girl really wasn't crazy. She really wasn't just making that stuff up. That girl really was listening to God. And it was almost like, wait, whose side are you on? I thought you was rocking with me. I thought you was on my side. And one of the things I've had to learn, even on this side of it, as a coach, as a businesswoman, as a leader, baby, you got to be real careful of who the ones that you put in your inner circle. And I think I had put that on here somewhere too. You got to be real careful with the ones that you allow close to you, because people not really rooting for you. They rooting for you all the way up until now you have exceeded them, or now the very thing that you have been saying that was going to happen and come to pass, now it's almost like, oh, okay. And the disappointment in that, oh my God, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. So lack of trust in people, mental overload. Baby, I literally have had to learn how to turn my brain off. And that for me means I'm not going to work. I'm going to lay in this bed all day long. I'm not going to turn no TV on. I'm not going to turn no music on. I need to lay here and rest my mind. And what I do is I get me some anointed oil, and I put all that oil on my head, and I pray in the spirit and ask the Lord to release me from this, because that mental overload can drive a person insane, right? Memory loss. And you're thinking, oh, well, memory loss. Yes, memory loss. Sometimes you can lose your memory. One of the things my mother used to always tell me was, because she's working in a nursing home, and she said one of the people that she used to always take care of was people who were providers for somebody else, like, taking care of somebody else, doctors, teachers, that type of thing. She said, and those people be the ones, and it made me think. She said, and those people be the ones that deal with a lot of Alzheimer's disease. Like those people and I'm saying to myself, Lord Jesus, we out here trying to help the people and we got to lose our mind helping people? No, sirree. Like, I don't want that, right? I don't want that. So you have to be really careful. One of the things I know that I get attacked with a lot, because I call myself a mental health wife coach. One of the things the enemy try to do for me, to me on purpose, is to come from my mind, right? Loneliness. Oh man, this area here. One of the things I always tell wives is, in the beginning of this, you need to on purpose be lonely. You need to be in a place where it's just you and God. You need to set that time away where you're just you and God. But then it comes a time where you will experience loneliness, because now you're not able to share and talk to nobody about this, because y'all don't have anything in common, right? Their faith is not on the same level as your faith. And so now you are in like this bubble all by yourself. So you are experiencing loneliness, heartache, grief. Man, these types of things are really things that women have to pay attention to. One of the leading causes of Black women is from heart issues, right? And one of the things I used to always pray, especially once my husband, like I said, went backwards, and things was going good and it went backwards. One of the things I used to pray for is like, God, please don't let me die from heartache. Like, don't let me die from heartache, right? The enormous weight of your own family's well-being. Like, just constantly worrying about, is my kids okay? Is the house, okay? Are we going to have enough of it? Like, you constantly have these types of thoughts and worries on you when you're dealing with these types of things or whatever. Spiritual burnout, spiritual, withdrawal. A lot of times people think that you're supposed to just faith. And yes, we do have to walk in our faith, and we have to maintain that. But what wives have to also understand is sometimes you need, which is why I go back to the self-care part, you need other things that you can do. You need your faith, but you also need some practical things that you can do. Go get a facial. Go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. Go take yourself on a trip. Go out to eat. Sit in the bed and watch Netflix all day. Eat your bowl of ice cream. Like, you need other things. You do have times and seasons where you have spiritual burnout. And it's not that you don't believe God. It's not like the Bible's not working or those types of things. But sometimes it's just not connected and you burn out, right? Close family and friends breakups and breakdowns, like I shared earlier, that was a huge thing for me. This is one of the reasons why Coach T always share with wives, be careful who you share your information with. And then smaller circles, right? Be real careful. Everybody cannot handle your marriage stuff. Everybody cannot handle your marriage stuff. Everybody should not have a table or a comment or something to say about your marriage, right? You have to be very particular about who you share your marriage stuff with, because everybody can't have that. Some people literally are jealous of you because you had the strength and the capacity and the faith to believe God and stick it out in your marriage, and they didn't. And so because they didn't, they become jealous of you. They become envious of you. They become resentful towards you. You have to understand that you have enemies all around you. And so one of the things I always share with wives is, this is why I always say, pay to share your secrets. Pay somebody to share your secrets with. At least it's you and that person, right? Not you and somebody else. Oh, girl, she thinks she all that. Just because her husband came back home, now she thinks she just know everything. She's so smart. She got all the wisdom. She got all the, like, you deal with some stuff. I dealt with a little bit of that, like I said, when I was going through my separation, but I had a lot of support in the beginning. It wasn't until I got on the other side of this thing when I really started to see, man, and it's not just your family members. It can be your husband's family members. I got the most persecution from my husband's family, right? Them telling him specific things. Don't sleep with her. Don't eat her food. Don't do this. Like, who does that? Right? And still to this day, sometimes I have to literally ask God to help my heart to not be angered by those types of things. Right? Because it's like, I didn't do anything to y'all. I didn't do anything. I came into this as a pure, I had no, no bad motives. I came in here pure. Right? And so when I would hear so many things that he would say, that they would share, and the things that they would say that they thought I didn't know about, and then some of the things that God even revealed to me about them, it's like, oh my God, that part is hard, right? That part is hard. So sometimes the family breakdown, you got to be careful who you place in your circle. Isolation. You're gonna feel isolated. And go back to the part about being lonely. You're gonna feel isolated a lot of times on this, because like I said, you're not gonna have much in common with a lot of people. Usually when you are walking this type of walk and you're doing what thus said the Lord, and you're following pursuit with what God is asking you to do in your life, and other people might not necessarily be on that same path as you, right? Like, other people simply want to turn up and do other things. They might want to go places and do certain things. And it's like, you cannot participate in those things anymore. Or you can't do those things at all. Then you have the physical part of this, which is like fatigue. Fatigue is, you're going to deal with that. This is why it's important for you to get that exercise in, do that physical, that physical workout, get your, body moving, that type of thing. Because you're going to deal with a lot of fatigue. Joint pain, cramps, you're going to deal with this kind of stuff. And it does not have to necessarily be that, oh, I'm an old lady dealing with this kind of stuff, or it's my cycle time. No, you're going to be dealing with kind of stuff just because of the stress and the worryation that you're carrying. Burnout, being drained, heaviness, tiredness, dizziness. I had never experienced ringing in the ears. And I was like, I lost my doggone mind. I had never experienced that. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God. And I went to the doctor about it because it scared me. Now, I wear a lot of, earpieces or whatever in my ear. And they tell you to cut it down or whatever and stuff like that. And Coach T don't always listen. So the lady was telling me that had something to do with it too. But we also discovered that stress can cause the ringing in your ears as well. exhaustion, just being exhausted. And then one of the biggest parts of it that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the time that's lost. The time that's lost with family. The time that's lost, just in life, just doing this type of journey. A lot of things take place. These are just some of the side effects that I can think of that I have experienced my own self in the beginning of my journey when I was going through what I was going through. But even on the other side of this, as I've, crossed over and God has me in a place of leadership and able to share these types of things, you go through these types of things. Now, after hearing all of this, you may wonder, why would a person put themselves in that position? Like, why would I sign up for something like that? Why would I do something like that? And I say it doesn't matter where you are in life, you will always need God's help. You will always need God's help. All these things mentioned keeps you completely dependent on God, right? Wife, one of the biggest reasons why the work you do for yourself on this journey is so important is because the assignment gets harder. The assignment gets harder. A lot of times wives feel like, oh, I have arrived when my husband come home, or, oh, my husband is back, me and, the Lord finally restored my marriage. And that's why some of these teachers and preachers and, people that be sharing certain things, that's why I don't necessarily always agree with a lot of this stuff. Cause it's like, tell people the truth. Stop sugarcoating everything. Stop making it seem like everything is a happy ever after type of thing. Now that the husband's back home. No, that's when the real work begins. A lot of times the work that you have done for yourself, when that husband comes back home, now you are having to deal with that. Or the husband is home and now y'all back into a healthy place and y'all doing things. Man, I was so used to just having my own space, having my own, my own time. And so I didn't even realize, like, man, my husband can be sometimes it could be a lot, because I had been used to just, my kids were, older. And so independent. So I didn't have to like sit there and do that kind of stuff. And so you don't realize in a marriage how much of that is taken from you. Like, you really, really have to put in that time. And so this stuff that some of these people be coming on here saying and sharing, like, oh, God did this and God did this. And it's like, yes, God wants the glory. Yes, God wants you to be able to, tell your story and give your testimony. Yes, he does. But I always say, tell the truth. Give them the whole truth. Be transparent. Like, yes, it was this and that. Like, we had a good day, but we also had a disagreement later on. Like, tell both sides of the story. You don't want to move backwards, wife, on this journey. You want to move forward. And so many wives are moving backwards because they refuse to do the work. And they're not prepared when God finally moves on their behalf. Because they're so used to being stuck in this place. They're so used to being in this place. And it's almost like, oh, God, I'm going to be here forever. But it's like, no, you're not. There's an expiration date on everything, right? And you never know the time of the day when God is getting ready to move on your behalf. So many wives are skipping out on the work. They're skipping out on the healing. They're neglecting the process, and they're going back to the beginning of the line because they refuse to do what is necessary, right? Or they get stuck in the cycle of things. Like, oh, we're just going to keep doing the same things over and over again. They alter their seasons and they stay in the same place year after year after year after year after year. And as a coach, as a wife on the other side of this, that part is hardening to watch. That is very, very hard to see. Especially with somebody that you have probably been working with, and then all of a sudden they kind of took a different route. Or especially with somebody you've been working with and you knew, like, if you do this, or if you say this, if you go this way, you're going to mess this up. And somehow, some way they were deceived, or they stopped checking in, or, or they didn't have the money, so they couldn't do certain things. So because of those reasons, it's almost like, man, then you hear those stories of, oh, well, me and my husband, we're not together, or me and my husband, we finally made a decision to divorce. And it's like, oh my God, so much could have been prevented if you would have did this, and that, right? Many times wives feel like, I can do this on my own, right? They feel like I can do this on my own. Just me and God. And yes, God will bless you on the level that you are on, right? But you miss out on all the things he wants to get to you. Some say, well, as long as I'm with God, I have all that I need. Everybody give you the little story. Oh, it's just me and God. It's just me and God. It's Mr. C. It's just me and God. It's just me and God. And it's like, yes, God will bless you right where you are. If that's the level that you want to stay on, if that's all you want, if mediocre is all you want, then God will bless you right there in that place. God will not allow, some people say, God will not allow me to miss nothing. He wants to give me. And it's like, oh, that's not how that go. That's not how that go. There are stipulations to the promise. There are stipulations on this journey. God does his part, and you're responsible for doing your part. So many wives are looking for God to do everything. They're looking for God to do all the work. They're looking for God to bring everything around. And it's like, that's not how it does. That's not how it goes, right? That's just not how it goes. You, wife, are responsible for doing your own work and doing your own personal inner healing. Some people are comfortable with the bare minimum. They are okay with mediocre, right? But why get this far on the assignment to stop? The side effects, that's part of the journey. That the side effects is part of the journey, but you have to still learn how to navigate and get through those things in the most healthiest way, right? Wives need to heal and do their work before their husbands come back home, or before their husbands make a decision while they're in the home to come back and be with them and get back into that healthy space. Why? Because, wife, you can ruin that man. You can ruin that man with your decisions, with your choices, with your lifestyle, your resentment, your pain, your aches, your hurts, your unforgiveness, your torment, your unwillingness to change, your manipulation. You can ruin that man. God could be doing a specific work in him, but because you have not done your own personal work, you can send that man in a backwards place, right? You can send him in a backwards place. A lot of times, wives are not prepared when God finally said, all right, he's coming home, he's ready, this and that. They're not prepared. And this is one of the things I always tell wives, this is when you need somebody to walk with you even the most. When that time happens, when that time comes, this is when you need that, right? Wife, you need to heal. And I use Joseph. He's a perfect example. I love Joseph's story, right? Joseph is a perfect example of this. All the dirt and ugly that his brothers did to him, and they tried to destroy Joseph. But Joseph became a better person, right? He became a better person. One of my favorite lines from Joseph's story comes from out of Genesis 50, verse 20. And it says, as for you, you meant for evil against me, but God meant it for good. Joseph was a healed man. By the time he got to the place where he was supposed to be, to that place at not just the place where he was helping Potiphar out and his wife and all that foolery. By the time he got to the palace, by the time he got to that place where he was the man in charge, Joseph was well healed. He was ready. He was ready to do what it is that God had called him to do. Now, he had a little pettiness in him, right? He had a little pettiness in him, but overall he was healed, right? He was healed. He knew, and this is one that I share with wives all the time. Wife, I am 99.99.99.99% certain that God was trying to get your attention about something or shared something with you way before you said I do to your husband. God shared something with you that you were supposed to be doing way before you said I do. Too many wives come into their marriage covenant, and say I do to their husbands before healing, before finding out who they really are, before finding out what it is that God wants them to do. They become wives instead of becoming daughters, when they really supposed to be becoming daughters first, and then allow God to walk them into wifehood, right? So a lot of times you got these insecure, unhealed, unhealthy, angry, unforgiving women married to a man who he may have his own traumas and dramas and things going on himself. Y'all come together, now y'all are with each other, all y'all stuff together, and God said, we gotta make a cut. we gotta make a cut. Because if we don't make a cut, something is going to happen. This is not going to work. This is not going to be good. Something has to happen, right? And so a lot of times I always tell wives, God has already told you what it is that you need to be doing. God has already called you out. God has already tried to get your attention several times before you got to this place. But you ain't listen. You ain't listen. So he said, all right, I'm going to snatch the rug from underneath her and I'm going to come for her marriage. Because I know if I come for her marriage, she's going to hear me out on this. She's going to pivot on this if she wants this thing to work. Now, one of the things I always tell wives, you do not want to say yes to this assignment just to get God to fix your marriage. If you come in this with the wrong motive, with the wrong mindset, if you come in with it, oh, I'm only doing these things, I'm only studying to, to get God to move in my marriage, I'm only fasting so God, you got this all wrong and you gonna hinder yourself on this journey. God will not be mocked. Okay, that talks about that in Galatians. God will not be mocked. All right, God knows all things. He knows the mind of his people, so he will not be mocked. You have to have the right intent when you coming into this journey and you saying yes, okay? Joseph knew in the beginning what his assignment was. What he didn't know is all the things that he would have to go through to get to that place. He didn't know that he would be wounded, thrown to the woods by his own family, by his own brothers. He didn't know that he was going to have to go through all that hardship that he had to go through to get to the place that he became. But all things work together for the good. It all worked itself out. All the good that he did seemed like it wasn't doing any good, but it was working for him on the back end. I always tell you guys, your pain will not go to waste. I promise you. I promise you. Everybody's not called to be a wife coach. Everybody's not called to this type of platform. Everybody's not called to, do this, but it's some kind of way, in some way, a capacity on your journey. You are supposed to be doing something. And the pain and things that you went through in your marriage, it is going to help somebody in some type of way. I have one wife who, her husband, they're not in the same home together, but one of the things that God really used her heavily in is ministering to people on her job. I have another wife who her husband, they're not in the same home right now, but one of the things that God has her doing is praying for people. She's in a place of interceding for people. Wife, you have work to do. This journey requires more from you than your marriage. Your marriage part, God gonna deal with that. He's gonna fix that. He's gonna do what he said he's gonna do about that. But get the lesson on this journey. Get the lesson so you can learn what it is. The side effects of this assignment is you're going to go through all kinds of stuff before you get to that final place. You're going to go through all the highs and the lows, the ups and downs, the around the corners and blocks and all that kind of stuff. You're going to deal with all those things. But what I want to do today is encourage you to fight through it, to push through it, to know and understand that God has your back. God is for your marriage. It doesn't matter what it looked like, what it seemed like, what it feels like during this time. If God said it, then he can do it. All right. Listen, wives, if you are ready and you are in the season to do your own personal work, I want to encourage you today to sign up. You can sign up today at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. This is time for you to do your own personal work. You can start off with the wife consultation, or if you say, Coach C, I know I need more than one session. Sign up for, the grief session. Sign up for the her bonus abuse. It is time for you to do your own personal work. Don't think that you just sitting around like, oh, well, my husband's not home, I don't have anything to do. You have work to do. God is trying to do something in you. He wants to do something in you before he does something to you, before he does something in your marriage. Allow him to do that in this season for you. All right. Sign up today, www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, in the meantime, y'all go enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Do something that you enjoy doing. I was telling my small group, people today, go to the pumpkin patch. That's never been my thing. My kids was like, but go to the pumpkin patch, go outside, go get you some cozy pajamas, cuddle up, get you some tea, some cappuccino, whatever your drink of choice is. Relax, watch a little TV. Just do something that you enjoy doing, all right? Make sure that you are prioritizing yourself, wives, all right? Listen, and I'll talk to y'all on the other side. I love you. Blessings.